Ugh. Alright, whatever. I'm just gonna jump into the haul because there's a mess of books on the floor. I think I have about 30 books to unhaul, so yeah. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Crystal and today I am going to be doing an unhaul for you because after this video I have a major book haul for you. I have been just buying so many books and I just wish I didn't, but at the same time I'm very happy that I did. So in order to bring in new books, I have to get rid of some books that I'm not going to get to and just come to terms that I'm never going to read them, so there is no use in me holding on to them. I will be donating these books to local charities, so don't worry, it is going to a good cause, and kids and adults and people that just can't buy and afford books will finally have books to read. So I love doing this. It's for the state of New Jersey. We donate to veterans, so this is where it's going to be going in case you wanted to know. And without further ado, let's just get into the unhaul. So the first two books I have here are in a series, and that is The Last Magician and The Devil's Thief. I love the covers of these books, but I'm just not gonna get to them. And they're just so big. They're just so big, and I just think there'll be somebody that will enjoy them a lot more than me, and that's just that. So goodbye, The Last Magician. This was actually featured in like my first unhaul. I was going to unhaul it then and I didn't, and I'm finally doing it. So goodbye. Then next I'm getting rid of The Breakdown by B.A. Paris. I just never got to this, and if I want to read it, I'll just get it from my library. Next I have Murder Trending, and this is by Gretchen McNeil. I picked this up when Barnes & Noble was having their book haul events. It was like $5. I just didn't get to it, and I don't think I'm going to be getting to it. And I've heard mixed things about it, so I just don't want to pick it up at all. The next I'm getting rid of Undead Girl Gang by Lily Anderson. I actually really loved this book, but I'm just never going to reread it. So I think someone else will really enjoy this book. So I am getting rid of it, and I wish it well. I love you. You were great, but it's time to get rid of it. The next I'm getting rid of The Lost Coast by Amy Rose Capetta. I read this back in March or April. I was lucky enough to get a finished copy from the publisher, which was so nice of them. But I am unhauling this. I am not going to be revisiting this story, and there's no use in it sitting on my shelves collecting dust. But I did enjoy this book. I just don't see myself rereading it. The next I have here, The House by the Cemetery. Ooh, it's kind of like reflective, by John Everson. This I received from the publisher as well. I have an ebook copy of this, so I don't need the print book anymore, and I'm just gonna get rid of it. And then next I have The Crowns of Croswald by D.E. Knight. I am not getting rid of my copy. This is just a second copy that was sent to me from D.E. Knight herself. So I have two copies. I don't need two copies. So I hope some middle grader gets their hands on this one and enjoys it because it's perfect for them. The next I'm getting rid of another chunker, and that is Pieces of Her by Karen Slaughter. I never got to this book, and now the paperback is out, and I just don't see myself picking up another one of her books anytime soon. So if I feel like reading this, like I said about a couple of the other books, I'm going to just read it on my Kindle through the library or something. I just don't need physical copies of all the thrillers out there, because you just read them once and then you don't want to revisit them. So getting rid of Karen Slaughter's Pieces of Her. So I'm unhauling these really heavy books. This is from an independent author, and that is Orwell by Nicoline Evans. And I have all three books here from her series. Now, I loved the covers of these books, but I just could not get into the story. I don't know if I'm just not, it's not my type of theme for a book, but I just cannot get into the story. So I think a middle grader will enjoy these. It's definitely pretty intense emotionally. You could tell that the author really was researching things that like people go through emotionally and just kind of using the characters as a metaphor. These are based on characters that are like made out of like elements. So like one character is made out of stone. I don't really know, but it's just not really, I'm just not really into it. I have here The Spell Book of Katrina Van Tassel, and this is by Alyssa Palumbo. I don't think I'm ever going to read this. I picked this up in the wintertime because I wanted something like horror to read, and it's just not anything that I want to get into now at this point. I didn't pick it up then, and I don't think I'm going to pick it up now. And this is a book based on Sleepy Hollow, the story. So Katrina Van Tassel is a character in that story. So it's basically like a love story. I'm not into it. So unhauling it onto the next owner. And next I am unhauling Beasts of Extraordinary Circumstances by Ruth Emmy Lang. I just never got to this. This was a book of the month book, and I don't think I'm ever going to really get to it. These book of the month books are great, but they do take up a lot of space, so if you don't get to them, you have to kind of unhaul them. Otherwise they pile up and they just take up a lot of room. So I never got to this, and I don't really have any interest in it at all, so I'm going to be passing this on. The next here, this was a gift from a friend, and I do love Harley Quinn, but I just don't see myself reading this. It's called Mad Love. I don't know if it's by Paul Dini and Pat Cadigan. It's a Batman novel. It's a really, really cool cover, and I love it. I just don't think I'm ever going to read it, and I don't want it collecting dust on my shelves. So, well, my one shelf, I don't really have much shelf space, so I have to be picky about the books that I keep physically. So I'm going to be getting rid of this, and I hope someone can enjoy this. I mean, I know kids are really getting into DC and Marvel again, so this might get into the right hands and someone might really enjoy it. Next, I am getting rid of a Fear Street book by R.L. Stine. This has The Dead Boyfriend and Give Me a K-I-L-L. I don't really have a use for this. These are classics, but at the same time, I just have outgrown them so much. I just don't really need them on my shelves collecting dust, like I said. So I'm just over it, and this I am keeping one other Fear Street because I love it and it's like one of my favorites. But this one I just didn't really love, so I'm just gonna get rid of it and someone else will enjoy it. I have Meddling Kids by Edgar Cantero. I enjoyed this. I read this last year for Booktubeathon and I did enjoy it, but I'm never going to revisit it. I did find some issues with the plot, so it has a great cover and I held on to it for as long as I did because of the cover art, but it's time to move on and it's time for you to find a new home. And yeah, so Meddling Kids, I do suggest this book if you are looking to read it for any reason. I definitely suggest it. It was a good read, and it was a fast-paced read, and it was funny, and it was great, and there's a dog in it, and I love it. But I'm never going to revisit it, like I said. So I have here The Nest, and this is by Cynthia D'Aprix Sweeney. I will never read this. I don't even know what it's about, and I just don't want to read it. I love the decal pages, but that's about it. So it's moving on, it's going to a new home, and that's that. Next I have Witchmark by C.L. Polk. I tried to read this. I got about a quarter of a way into the book and I'm just not into the story at all. It's not you, it's me. I just can't get into it. So hopefully somebody else will enjoy this book, and yeah, that's it. Next book I'm getting rid of is Scream All Night, and this is by Derek Millman. I have no need for this book anymore. It's a great cover. It's great to take bookstagram pictures with, but I just don't need it anymore. I will not read it, and there's so many other crazy, good, spooky books that are coming out in the fall that I will get to. So this is just gonna collect dust. So it's time for you to move on to your new home. Next, I am getting rid of, and this is going to be a shocker to some people, but An Ember in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir. I read this first book. I enjoyed it, but not that much for me to continue with the series. I am not continuing the series, and I'm finding myself as I'm getting older, I'm just not that into series as I was at one point. So I am unhauling this. And I'm sad about it because I've had this baby for so long. It's been sitting on my shelves forever. It's been living with me for years, but it's time for her to get a new home. Next, I'm getting rid of Star World, and this is by Audrey Colfers and Paula Gardner. I tried to read this. I couldn't get into it. It's just not for me, and I would love for somebody, for the right person, to get this book. It is LGBTQ. It is a love story, and it does have some magical realism elements to it. I am just not that into the story at all, and it's time for it to go to a new home. And next, I'm getting rid of Tanya French's Into the Woods. I could not get into this book, and if I'm going to read it, it's going to be audiobook because it's just so long and like blah and slow burn, and it's such a great floppy book. It's great, and whoever gets their hands on this is going to love it, but I just can't get into the story. It's not for me, and that's all I have to say about this. I tried to get into her books. I can't. I'm not into it. And next, I'm getting rid of Small Town Hearts by Lily Vale. I just finished this book, and I'm just over it. I'm not going to keep it. It was an okay story. I gave it a 3 out of 5 star. I will never revisit it. I love the cover. It's beautiful. It's cute. I love the colors. But why am I going to hold on to a book that I'm not going to read again in the future? And lastly, I have here These Witches Don't Burn by Isabel Sterling. I am getting rid of this. I hated it. I don't want to look at it anymore. I am so disappointed in what this story brought to my life and what I expected from this story. My expectations were completely different than what was on this book, what was in this book. So it's time for us to move on with our lives, and you go find a new home that someone might like you, because I don't like you. That's it. That's all I have to unhaul for you guys today. I do have a couple of little tiny like children's arcs that I'm getting rid of that I got from BookCon that were just kind of thrown at me while I was walking around. They're nothing to really discuss or show you guys what they are. But other than that, that's it. That's all I'm unhauling, and I cannot wait to just keep decluttering my life, and I need to stop buying books. I need to stop buying books. But anyway, on that note, if you have not already, please like and subscribe to this channel if you want to see more from me, and I'll be talking to you guys soon. Bye!